breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warm and friendly hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, John Jansen, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're going to be chatting with him about the state of the Philadelphia Phillies as he's over there with Fox Sports Philadelphia, the Gambler. So always have to address that, the NL East race, the wide open landscape that we've got in baseball, and so much more. Here in the first segment, we're going to recap everything that we saw in baseball on Wednesday, and then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via the 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions, everything is powered by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever they want. They make sure that 100% of gambling transactions do get approved, and we go to edgeboost.bet. Put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That's going to get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Wednesday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Milwaukee Brewers just do not stop winning. 12-5. They take down the Pittsburgh Pirates. They have now won 12 straight games. And I know that there's something out there where you get like free burgers if they win like 14 games or something like that. So that is very much being up for discussion right now in the great state of Wisconsin. Mitch Keller got destroyed, 6 runs allowed in 4 innings, and the Brewers had no home runs with their 12 runs, by the way. Carmen Mlodzinski gives up 2 runs in 2 innings. Kyle Nicholas gives up 4 runs, and he got only 1 out of the bullpen. You had from there Isaac Manson, a scoreless inning, and Cam Sanders, a pair of outs out of the bullpen. He was able to keep things scoreless and did have a pair of home runs for the Pirates as Brian Reynolds goes deep twice. Home runs number 12 and 13 of the campaign. One comes off of Shelby Miller, who gives up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Nick Mears, he goes for 1 1/3 innings. He allows 2 runs, and Brandon Woodruff, short start here. 4 scoreless innings. From there, Jared Koenig, a scoreless inning. Tobias Myers, 2 scoreless innings. And the Brewers go 8 of 14 with men in scoring position. Anything but a lot of scoring out there in Chicago. 1-0. The Tigers get the job done against the Chicago White Sox. As how about Troy Melton going for 5 scoreless innings? Sawyer Gibson Long, 2 scoreless innings. Kyle Finnegan, Wolf, yes, they both give you a scoreless inning. And for the Chicago White Sox, Shane Smith, 5 scoreless innings. From there, Martin Perez in long relief gives up just 1 run in 3 1/3 innings. Steven Wilson, a pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, but nothing doing for the White Sox at the plate. Just 2 total hits in this one. Lots doing for the Washington Nationals at the plate. 8-7. They're able to take down the Kansas City Royals. As for the Royals, they get down in this game 5-0 before they come to bat. As for Seth Lugo, this was not the start that he was hoping for. 7 runs, 6 of which were earned. Give it up in his 4 innings, including a pair of home runs. Going deep for the Washington Nationals in this one, you had home run number 16 of the season for Nathaniel Lowe, and C.J. Abrams. He gets his 16th home run of the campaign. By the way, Washington, 32 overs, 26 unders, and 4 pushes on the road this season, as Jake Irvin gave up 6 runs in 4 innings himself, including a home run to Vinny Pasquantino, 22nd home run this season. For the Royals bullpen, pretty solid. Carlos Aceves does give up a run in the 9th inning that decided the game, but Daniel Lynch, 2 scoreless innings. Luinder Avila and Sammy Long both give you a scoreless inning, and for the Washington Nationals, bullpen stepped up. You had Clayton Beater give up a run in 2/3 of an inning, but Cole Henry, Jose Ferrer both give you 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. BJ Poulin, he was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels, and Connor Pilkington, he was able to go for a squirrel inning himself. For the Colorado Rockies, they take down the St. Louis Cardinals 6-5, and they win this series. Embarrassing for the Cardinals, who are back at 500, as Austin Gomber does get Gombered up. 5 runs in 5 innings, including a pair of bombs. Alec Burleson, 15th home run season. Lars Nootbaar, his 13th, and for Michael McGreevy, he does give up 3 runs over the course of his 6 innings as he was taken deep by Mickey Moniak, 18th home run season. But Hunter Goodman, with the team down a run in the 9th inning, he comes up with a home run off of Jojo Romero, 24th home run season. Blown save for Romero, gives up 2 runs in an inning. Kyle Leahy gives up a run in an inning, and Riley O'Brien is squirrel inning. And for the Rockies, bullpen did their job. Jimmy Harrigan, Jaden Smith, Nick Anderson, Victor Vodnik, they all end a scoreless inning, and you had the Arizona Diamondbacks get the job done against the Walker Texas Rangers. This by a count of 6-4, as for the Arizona Diamondbacks. You had James McCann be able to provide his third home run season off of Phil Matone, and you had Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte also go deep off of Matone. 23rd home run season earlier in the game. Geraldo Perdomo, 13th home run season that comes off of Merrill Kelly, who gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. From there, you had Hobie Milner give you a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Luis Carvello, he was able to go for a scoreless inning, but Phil Matone 1 1/3 innings. So 4 outs, and he gave up 4 runs, including 2 bombs. And Jake Berger does go deep off of Zach Gallen. His 12th home run of the season. Zach Gallen fills it up, giving up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings. But from there, Kyle Bacchus, Juan Burgos, both on to scoreless inning. John Curtis with 2 S's. He gives up a run in an inning, but Andrew Sofrank was able to give you a scoreless inning to be able to get that one in for the Cincinnati Reds. They have been by far your best under team in all of baseball, and they do get the job done against the Philadelphia Phillies. This by a count of 8-0, as they are now up to 44 overs, 72 unders, and 6 pushes for the season. As for the Phillies, Christopher Sanchez gives up 3 runs in 6 innings, but it was from there Jordan Romano has had a terrible season, giving up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning, including a bomb to Miguel Andujar, his 9th home run of the campaign. That was of the Grand Slam variety. Joe Ross from there, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and for Hunter Green, coming off the injury list, he looked really good. 6 scoreless innings. Graham Ashcraft, a scoreless inning. Emilio Pagan, a scoreless inning, and Scott Barlow, same mole. They were both able to combine for a scoreless inning. For the San Francisco Giants, things are starting to go sideways for them, as Padres are one of your best under teams in all of baseball. 51 overs, 66 unders, and 4 pushes, but they got the overall by themselves. 11-1 the final, as they put up a 7 spot in the second inning. Ramon Laureano didn't even have a home run in that inning. This came in the 5th off of Joey Lucchesi, 17th home run of the season, as Kai Tang, hopefully I said that correct, 7 runs, 6 of which were earned, and he got 5 outs. Not great to say the least. Spencer Bivens, 7 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Joey Lucchesi from there gives up a home run, 3 runs in total in his inning work. Tristan Beck, he goes for 2 innings, giving up a run. You had from there Ryan Walker give you a scoreless inning. Christian Koss, position player, a scoreless inning. And for the Padres, Nick Pivetta, rock solid here, 1 run allowed in 6 2/3 inning. Yuki Matsui, 2 scoreless innings, and Wandy Peralta, he was able to lend a scoreless inning as well. The Miami Marlins absolutely lambasted the Cleveland Guardians, this by a count of 13-4, as for Erie Perez, gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, but more than good enough to get the win, despite the fact that he did give up a pair of bombs going deep. For Cleveland, it was Mr. Gabriel Urias, his 9th home run season, Stephen Kwan, his 10th, Gavin Williams, he only lasted 3 innings, he gave up 4 runs himself, including a pair of bombs, as Xavier Edwards, just his 2nd home run of the season. Then you would have a pair of home runs from an unlikely source, Jacob Marcy. He gets home run number 2 of the campaign off of Williams, and then off of Kobe Allard, home run number 3, and you would have home run number 4 of the campaign for Graham Pauley as well. For Pauley, he was able to get that one off of Matthew Festa, who did not have a fiesta, giving up 5 runs while getting 4 outs out of the bullpen. Kobe Allard, he gives up 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Carlos Hernandez gives up 2 runs in 2 innings, and backup catcher Austin Hedges, a scoreless inning, and for the Marlins bullpen, pretty rock solid, as Tyler Zuber, a scoreless inning, Tyler Phillips, 2 scoreless innings, and Josh Simpson, he was able to polish off a scoreless inning of his own. And then with the Houston Astros, they do find a way to get the job done against the Boston Red Sox, this by a count of 4-1, as for the Red Sox, Walker Buehler gives up 4 runs in 6 innings, including a pair of home runs. Jeremy Pena, his 13th home run of the season, and 17th home run season for Yenier Diaz. From there, Steven Matz, Greg Weiser, both lend a scoreless inning, but for the Red Sox, just 1 of 10 with men in scoring position, as Hunter Brown gives up 1 run in 6 2/3 innings. Bennett Sosa, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and Brian DeBreu, he was able to lend a scoreless inning as well. For the Chicago Cubs, they get a road win over the Toronto Blue Jays, this by a count of 4-1. By the way, the Toronto Blue Jays, your top over team in all of baseball, so a little bit of a rare under here, and obviously the Cubs have been a pretty rock solid team on offense as well, but 66 overs, 50 unders, and 5 pushes right now for Toronto, as Cade Orton, he gave up just 1 hit in 5 2/3 innings, did allow 1 run, but very rock solid. Andrew Kittredge, Kel Theobar from there, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Brad Keller, Daniel Palencia led a scoreless inning, and for the Cubs, pair of home runs. Michael Busch, 23rd home run season, and then Matt Shaw, his 10th home run of the campaign for Toronto. Yeah, Kevin Gausman give up those 2 solo home runs in 7 innings. From there, Braden Fisher, 2 runs allowed in a third of an inning. Mason Flaherty, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and then Tommy Nance, he was able to lend a scoreless inning as well. If you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in baseball right now, this was with some of the games from Wednesday night still pending, by the way, so a little bit of a truth be told there, but it has been overall an underwhelming season in Major League Baseball, but over the last 7 days, we've been seeing things get overwhelming. 43 overs to 37 unders, while favorites on the money line over the last 7 days, again, with some results pending from Wednesday, 52-29, so hitting at a 64.2% rate. That compares to 57% overall for the season. 1,017 and 766 on the money line for favorites. Meanwhile, the under hitting at 51.7%, 891 unders to 834 over. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we all got on Wednesday. Coming up next, how about if we do talk with our good friend John Jansen of Fox Sports Philadelphia, the Gambler, about the NL East race, the Phillies, and so much more right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, not part of the Beast Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got John Jansen aboard. He does such a tremendous job over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, the Gambler, taking a look at so many different things, getting geared up for college football, getting geared up for the NFL as well, because out there in that city, you've got the reigning Super Bowl champions, but on top of that, Phillies baseball reaching a fever pitch here in the middle of August. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at JJansen, the number 34. Come in for the sports, stay for the movie and the video game reviews as well. And John, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And been a little bit of a shift in the NL East. Surprisingly, Phillies taking a bit of a lead here. So a pretty interesting time for the NL East specifically.
Yeah, and the Mets entered the week having lost 10 out of their last 11 games. Things just going down the toilet bowl. And how do you take a look at a Mets bunch that it's like, man, they just have not been able to get out of their own way. And you thought that perhaps the pitching would get better as they got healthier, but it's actually gotten worse as they've gotten Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea off the injured list.
Yeah, it's been getting worse. And I think for the Phillies, we have talked about it too at times, that there have been some flaws that I think really the bottom of the lineup is something I've noted a few times on the podcast. But the bottom of the lineup actually has been productive. At least it was productive against Texas. And that was really encouraging to see guys like Edmundo Sosa being able to come up with hits. Weston Wilson, Brandon Marsh had a very, very bad start to the season. After about the first month and a half, though, Brandon Marsh has been excellent. And now they're platooning him a little bit with like Harrison Bader, who is now in against lefties a lot. And Bader, not incredible, but you could see flashes of like somebody that could really be productive for them in the bottom of the lineup. So that really has been an Achilles heel for them. And just one of the bigger questions as they start getting ready for the postseason. But they're starting to at least get production in those areas, which is great to see.
Yep, they certainly are getting a lot of production there, and it's been a lot of fun to be seeing what we are able to get with regards to the Philadelphia Phillies, too. As for the Phillies, it's been a little bit of a hodgepodge with regards to pitching, but how big was it that they picked up Yohan Duran at the trade deadline? Because I think that we would both agree the real weak point for the team has been the bullpen, and now they at the very least have someone in the ninth inning that's rock solid. And I will say Ryan Kerkering has been a guy that's been pretty consistent this year, too.
Yeah, it has been. And so that was kind of the thing, that they don't have Jose Alvarado. And I think the bullpen was starting to figure out how to produce well without Jose Alvarado, because it took some time and they really needed some guys to step up, especially like Matt Strahm to repeat the season that he did last year. And there's been at times where he hasn't, but he's looked good. Tanner Banks finally has settled into a really good role. Kerkering has been, as you just mentioned, like he's the one that has stepped up. He's been their best relief pitcher, and he's been giving them so many quality innings in the bullpen. But you just knew that they were kind of missing one more guy to really replace Jose Alvarado. And the fact that Duran has come in and not only come in and be a reinforcement and to be a top-end arm, it's kind of different than what they have had, because Alvarado wasn't strictly a ninth inning guy. Kerkering hasn't been strictly a ninth inning guy. Matt Strahm has not been a ninth inning guy. They've kind of just been using in certain different cases, whatever the case may be, in terms of who's up in the lineup next, whether it's lefty or righty, just playing matchups. Now the ninth inning is locked down. So I think it helps Rob Thompson with the ability to move around Kerkering a lot more, Strahm, Tanner Banks, and all those guys, to use them correctly in the 6th, 7th, 8th innings, and knowing that like your 9th inning's locked down. You know exactly what you're getting out of your 9th inning. You know you're getting a really good closer that has been excellent for the past few seasons. That's something a little bit different that they haven't had before. And it's a really interesting spot now for the bullpen, because I feel like there's a lot more to play with now for Rob Thompson.
Yep, there is certainly a lot more for him now. And with the lineup as well, it feels like Bryce Harper coming back has really made all the difference for the team, because even though it is still a little bit top heavy with the home run power, because you've got a lot of guys that are able to move the line. You were even mentioning a guy like Edmundo Sosa, Alec Boehm, JT Realmuto, like all these guys are hitting for average. They're not necessarily hitting for a ton of power though. And I think that that's a big thing to take a look at with the Phillies. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but they have been hitting a little bit lesser on the road rather than at home this season as well.
Yeah, power has been the big one. So the home road splits definitely. I think at Citizens Bank Park, we've seen this team, especially this core. They seem to play much better at home. But that's always been a thing. But outside of that, it really has just been kind of power. Like this is a new issue. Usually they relied a lot on the long ball. They only have a handful of guys over double-digit home runs. And the only two that are really doing great at it is Kyle Schwarber, who has 41, which he is kind of on Ryan Howard watch. Ryan Howard at 58, which is the Phillies record. So he is on pace, has been on pace to maybe get to that or potentially over it. So that's a big deal. But Bryce Harper missed a significant portion of the season, and he is second in home runs. The only other one that's really close to him behind him is Nick Castellanos at 15, Harper at 17. So power has been a bit of an issue. The good thing is, though, they seem to be working well in manufacturing runs. This team is hitting for a little bit more on base and hitting for more average than they have previously. And that's a good thing that Trey Turner's hitting 282 this season. JT Realmuto also has been hitting well in the past couple of months too, so that's a great thing to see. Since basically the month of July, he has been really one of their best hitters. So to get that out of JT Realmuto when I wasn't sure if he'd be that productive, Nick Castellanos has been just okay, but still provides a little bit of power. But again, you're finding with these matchups, like Brandon Marsh is really great against right-handed pitching. And now you add on to that the fact that Harrison Bader can hit lefties pretty well. And also Edmundo Sosa has been playing more. It's been good that they are willing, especially with Bryson Stott too, to just play more matchups, and it seems to be working out for them. But the one concern, you're absolutely right, would be maybe this lineup's a little too top heavy. It seems to be. It goes through Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and maybe to, if you want to extend that a little bit, to Trey Turner as well. But really the two top guys are Schwarber and Harper. And maybe it almost seems like those two have to hit well if they do want to make a deep postseason run.
Yep, they probably are going to need to, and it's going to be really interesting to see what we get out of those guys moving forward. And John, it does feel like it's a very open landscape when it comes to the National League in general, because right now the Milwaukee Brewers are by far the top team in the National League with the way that they have been playing, but I can tell you right now, I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression here for the Milwaukee Brewers. And just how do you take a look at the entire landscape with the Mets falling down the toilet bowl? Obviously, the Atlanta Braves were not what we were expecting this year, and the LA Dodgers are still the Dodgers, but they have went through all sorts of injuries this year.
Yeah, and you don't want to dismiss, and I don't want to dismiss what Milwaukee has been doing. They're the only team in baseball right now that's in 70 wins. They have 70, over 70, the first team to get there. They went on this big winning streak. So, yeah, and a lot of credit to Milwaukee. I think, and everybody has correctly identified it, there seems to be a bit of a luck factor here. That's just baseball. It's what happens. I'm not looking at Milwaukee as they're running away with the National League, and that because they have the best record, because they have looked the best right now, that they are the team to beat in the National League. Honestly, to me, it narrows down a little bit with how the Cubs have been playing recently and just how it's all shaping up. To me, it does kind of seem like the Dodgers and the Phillies would be the team to beat. And I know we've mentioned problems with the lineup and maybe a little bit top heavy, but the thing is, you have a top heavy lineup with Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, who have been excellent in the postseason, and this really great pitching staff to go with it. I think it's the Phillies and Dodgers right now that I'm taking a look at in the National League. I would have been more bullish on the Cubs if they were more willing to get top end pitching at the deadline. They did okay with that, but I don't think they did enough. Lineup's great, may be the best lineup in the National League, but just it doesn't stack up when the Phillies have been a near top 7 lineup, Dodgers have an incredible lineup, and Shohei Ohtani not only hitting great, could be an MVP just based off of his hitting, but now he's starting to go deeper in the games for his starts and really starting to add depth in the starting rotation as well. So to me, it's really the Phillies and Dodgers are the team to beat. But the thing is with the National League, there are some really competitive teams like looking at the Central, the Cubs and the Brewers that could make things interesting.
You have no question about it, and I do think that with the National League, it's a very open landscape, but I feel like the American League is even more open because the Tigers have fallen down the toilet bowl. For the New York Yankees, they're in danger of perhaps not even making the postseason at all. The Toronto Blue Jays have been a rock-solid team, but I'm not necessarily buying in on them. The Astros have been a rock-solid team record-wise. I'm not necessarily buying in on them as well, and it just feels like if you make the playoffs out there in the American League, you've got a shot to make a run.
Yeah, you do. And maybe this is one where we just kind of rely on the reliable so far, that we know Houston is a team and they got Carlos Correa back and, they're kind of running it back here. And Houston has all the pieces that have won before with them. And so this is one where maybe just rely on what Houston has been. I like Detroit, but as we've seen recently, within the past like month and a half or so, and especially after the All-Star break, like they're just an okay team at the moment. And not to say they can't get back to what they were in the beginning of the season, but things have leveled off a little bit. I don't fully trust Toronto and what they're capable of. It seems like their time has been coming for a few years, so it's not too surprising that right now they're at the top of the American League East. They seem to be one of the best teams, maybe the best team in the American League at the moment. But the problem with that is, there has been a lot of disappointment over the years with them. And there still is kind of that lingering, is it all actually coming together, or could this all fall apart the way that it has in previous seasons? So very, very interested to see how it kind of all shapes out in the American League. I don't think there's a team that's running away with it. And honestly, it's just like, why not look at a reliable squad that maybe people are overlooking with Houston, and they still have a tough division race with Seattle on their heels. Man, that reliability certainly is something that is intriguing to me with that team, and especially in the American League.
Yep, it certainly is, and we've got ourselves a lot to be taking a look at in baseball right now. It is a wild time, to say the least, because we've got these playoff races. All of them seem to be super duper hot. The wild card in both leagues is going to be coming down to the bitter end, and it just feels like there's no dominant team this year, which I think always makes the sport so great, and what makes this podcast so great is great guests like you, John. I know you do a tremendous job out there in the lovely city of Philadelphia, so love to get people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, you can just follow me at JJansen34. That's where you'll find all my work, especially with football season coming up. A lot of fun things, and including Villanova football, which is on Fox Sports Radio Philadelphia, which we do. So very exciting for an upcoming football season. And look, that also means playoff baseball as well. So all of that can be found at JJansen34.
Absolutely, and John is doing an absolutely amazing job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. So a big thanks to John for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VC Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VC Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by John Jansen, who does such great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks to John for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we do get things started with 901, 902 on the betting board? The Philadelphia Phillies are on the road. They're facing off against the Washington Nationals. Brad Lord says, "Oh Lord, I am getting another start for the Nationals," and Jesus Luzardo on the bump for the Phillies. Only place I'm seeing an opener is at FanDuel, and that opener is -220 on the Phillies. You're seeing a run line price more around a -142. Meanwhile, for the Nationals, +184 with a +118 to get a run half. In half is the total, over is -120, and the under is even. And I'm actually willing to take a shot on the Nationals here. I need at least a +184 to be able to do so. For Ace Luzardo, he is doing for a lot of positivity if you take a look at the fielding independent numbers, but he's just been flat out awful over the last 2 months. For Ace Luzardo, a 4.20 ERA compared to a 3.04 fielding independent, 10.2 strikeouts and 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but you take a look at things ever since he had I think it was like 12 runs given up against the Milwaukee Brewers. It was the Brewers that really just completely broke this guy. He had 12 runs given up on the 31st of May, and if you look since May 31st in these 13 starts, he is rocking a 6.27 ERA. He's given up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. His walks per 9 rate is above a 3. He has just been a completely different pitcher ever since then, and Brad Lord has actually been a halfway decent starter for the Washington Nationals. A 3.28 ERA overall this season. Much of that came in the bullpen. 7.5 strikeouts, 3 walks per 9 innings. He's only allowed 7 home runs at 85 innings, and I mean, in his last 4 starts, he has given up 3 runs or fewer in every one of them. He's, as a matter of fact, given up approximately 1 run in 3 of those 4 starts. He is backed up by a bullpen that ranks dead last in the big leagues in terms of ERA. That's not great, as got the likes of Edwards, Joe Salazar, Orlando Rebalta, Jackson Rutledge, so many guys. They're posting up well above a 4.50 ERA. It is rough, but that's it for the Washington Nationals. You do have yourself James Wood, who's giving you good wood, 25-plus home runs. He's been able to give you about a 360 on base. Now, very interestingly, you've had C.J. Abrams with 16 home runs. All but 4 of them have come on the road. He's hitting at 265. Luis Garcia is hitting at 260, not a ton of power, but Josh Bell, since the beginning of the month of July, has been hitting above 275. He's pounding out 13-plus home runs. Nathan Lowe has been able to do a nice job, give you about 16 home runs this season as well, though his 216 batting average leaves a little bit of something to be desired. And then more of the younger guys, Dalen Lyle, Robert Assel, Brady House, in that neighborhood about a 245 to a 260 with not a lot of pop. Other end for the Philadelphia Phillies, this has been a unit that has been averaging over 5 runs per game at home, and you do have Bryce Harper really starting to get it going. For Harper, he's been the main, shall we say, support of Kyle Schwarber, who's been giving you 42 home runs, 370 on base. For Harper, 18 home runs. Really nobody else with over 15 home runs on the roster. Nick Castellanos, 15 bombs. He's hitting a 260, and there's plenty of guys that are moving the line. Alec Boehm, JT Realmuto, Trey Turner, all in between about a 270 to a 285. Brandon Marsh has been able to hit a 270 as well. And for Turner, 26 home bases, 12 home runs. He's been pretty rock solid, but you also have a Phillies bullpen that ranks in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Yohan Duran is tremendous, bringing him in. That helps out. And then you do have the likes of Tanner Banks or Ryan Kerkering, both giving you a sub 325 ERA, but when you get into the likes of Max Lazer, I know that they had Joe Ross out there for quite a while. He hits the injured list, so he gets replaced by Daniel Robert. Result has been the same. All these guys give you above a 4.25 ERA. So I do think that the Phillies should be a pretty sizable favorite here. I set them more around about a minus 183, but now they're at a plus 185 plus. We'll take a shot on the Nationals. Man by total at an 8.8, so at an 8.5, I'm also in on the over. 903, 904 on the card. The Atlanta Braves are on the road against the New York Mets. Kodai Senga goes for the Mets. Bryce Elder hopes to not be elderly for Atlanta. Atlanta does find themselves as plus 158 to plus 168 underdogs, in between minus 184 to minus 195. That number on the Metropolitans, 8.5 is the total. Over and under both at minus 110. And for the Mets, I set them at a minus 226 on the money line. I was willing to go up to a minus 110 with the run line in. Right now I'm seeing that FanDuel opener at a plus 106. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that run line for Kodai Senga. He is giving up too many walks, but man, do I have a whole heck of a lot more faith in him than Bryce Elder. Bryce Elder has been terrible this year. A 6.12 ERA. This guy has given up, I believe, 33 runs over his last 7 games. He has went straight down the toilet bowl. 3.5 walks, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. My gosh, it's just not great to say the least for Bryce Elder. And for Bryce Elder, very interestingly, on the road, he's actually been a little bit better with a 5.61 ERA, but he has given up about 1.8 home runs per 9 innings when he's on the road. And then you've got Kodai Senga, 2.30 ERA, doing for regression, 4.04 fielding dependent, 4.5 walks, 8.5 punch outs per 9 innings, and he's been experiencing that. 3+ runs allowed at each out of his last 4 starts, albeit in his last start, a few of those runs were unearned runs, and he has won 5 innings or fewer in every one of them. But for the Mets, they did revamp the bullpen, bringing in Ryan Helsley. Gregory Soto, I don't necessarily think is the greatest addition, but they bring in Gregory Soto. Reed Garrett has been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. You've had Ryan Stanek be a completed under mess for this team, and even though the Mets lineup is top heavy, at the very least, you do have some heavy hitters at the top, as you've had Juan Soto along with Pete Alonso do a nice job being able to punch out the deep ball. Both of these guys 28 home runs apiece. Both of these guys above 350 on base. Brandon Nimmo 20 home runs, hitting at 250. Francisco Lindor, ever since he suffered that lower body injury in June, has been himself, but still 21 home runs. And then the bottom lineup, you need a bit more here. Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, both hitting about a 230. Beatty's up to 13 home runs. Jeff McNeil about a 350 on base, but Tyrone Taylor in the catcher spot hitting below 220 has been less than savory. Starling Marte has been hitting for a little bit more average recently, though. And then on the other end, it's an Atlanta Braves team that is now without Ronald Acuna Jr., Marcell Ozuna, Matt Olson, both 18 to 19 home runs apiece. Both of these guys doing a solid job with a 360 or so on base. Michael Harris starting to hit the deep ball a little bit more with 12 home runs, but a 266 on base. Ozzie Albies, 9 home runs, 300 on base. Nick Allen, 0 home runs, hitting at 222. You've got a lot of concerns with this lineup. Now the catcher spot, Drake Baldwin, Sean Murphy, a combined 29 home runs. That's actually been very good for this team, but have not been able to figure it out. Jurickson Profar has been solid in the field, but not necessarily at the plate as well. And for the Braves, this is a bullpen that ranks in the bottom half of the big big leagues in terms of ERA themselves. You've had Dylan Lee, Desbel Hernandez, Pierce Johnson be able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but when you turn to like the Dodd father, Dylan Dodd, they've been trotting out their Osceola Iglesias as their closer all season, Aaron Bummer, these guys posting up above a 380 ERA. That's been a concern. So I did set the Braves at a plus 226, so I'm going to be willing to lay the run line of the Metropolitans, and I did tell that at 8.4, so here at the 8.5, I'm going to be in on the under. 9-5, 9-6 on the card. The Arizona Diamondbacks at the road, they're facing off against the Colorado Rockies. You've got Eduardo Rodriguez on the bump for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Brandon Blaylock is on the bump for the Rockies, and the Rockies do find themselves as underdogs of between plus 144 to a plus 153, minus 166 to a minus 176. It's at number on Arizona with 11.5 the total. The overs at minus 125, the unders at plus 105. Starting to see a straight 12 with the under at a minus 115, overs at a minus 105. If you're looking at that initial run line price, you'll find that at a minus 118 on the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm willing to go up to a minus 122 with Blaylock. He's been a little bit better recently, but I mean, it was all so bad when he gave up like that 10 spot a little bit earlier, and man, that was just not great to say the least. And I keep calling him Brandon. It's actually Bradley, so I apologize to Mr. Bradley Blaylock, but that said, 7.89 ERA, that's probably why I'm getting his name wrong, and he's getting 4.5 strikeouts, a 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, a 590 fielding dependent. Yeah, not great there. And this guy has just been getting absolutely lambasted when he's been at home. Like for Bradley Blaylock, he's been a little bit better when he's been on the road with a 4.37 ERA. That's presentable. At home, 11.76. East. And then for Eduardo Rodriguez, it has been a season to forget for him. For Mr. Eduardo Rodriguez, he's right now rocking an ERA of a 5.68, feeling dependent more in the neighborhood of a 4.72 as he's allowing 1.7 home runs, 3.7 walks per 9 innings, and he has allowed at least 4 runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts as well. Obviously, with Colorado, they have a on-base percentage that's more than 50 points higher when they're at home rather than away from home, so they're able to do a little bit of a better job here. You've had Mickey Moniak, when he has been at home, be a relatively solid hitter, and the same goes for Jordan Beck. Both of these guys on the road hitting below a 230, but for Beck at home, 321 average, 7 home runs. For Moniak, 11 bombs, hitting above a 300 at home. Brenton Doyle has been able to hit above a 300 at home. So, I mean, these guys are able to give you a bit more of something. Hunter Goodman actually is hitting for fewer home runs at home rather than on the road, but I mean, it's a lineup that you're able to trot out there and you're able to feel relatively okay about, but I mean, the elevation should be helping them out even further. And then for the Arizona Diamondbacks, obviously, you trade away Eugenio Suarez along Josh Naylor. That's not great, but I mean, you've got Corbin Carroll is really starting to heat up. He's up to 26 home runs, and for Mr. Corbin Carroll, he's now been able to give the team a home run in 3 out of their last, I believe now, 7 games after he was really struggling coming off the injured list. You've got Geraldo Perdomo up to a 385 on base. He's been rock solid. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte gives you a home run every about 14 at bats, 390 on base. Now, some of the young guys like a Blaze Alexander, you could use a little bit more out of him, but he's starting to heat up now, hitting a 275. The catcher spot has been shored up with James McCann, the veteran, being able to give you a little bit of something along with Adrian Del Castro, the young gun. Though this is a bottom 6 team in terms of bullpen area, Shelby Miller getting traded means that they have just nothing in this bullpen. You got the likes of Jalen Beeks, John Curtis with 2 S's, Juan Murillo, Jake Woodford, a whole bunch of guys posting up above a 3.75 ERA, but I mean, the same goes for the Colorado Rockies. Victor Vodnik has been relatively presentable in this bullpen, and Juan Mejia has not been awful. He has had an ERA hovering right around 4 all season long, but and when you get into the likes of Seth Elverson, Jaden Hill, Ryan Rolson, I mean, so many guys posting up above a 4.50 ERA. Nick Anderson is not great. So with the Diamondbacks willing to lay up to a minus 122 with this run line, and even if you get to a 12, I'm in on the over sub by total at a 12.3. 9-7, 9-8 on the card. The Baltimore Orioles are going to be playing us the Seattle Mariners. Logan Evans is on the board for Seattle. Tamayuku Sugano goes for Baltimore. Baltimore is a underdog of anywhere between plus 104 to a plus 113, minus 122 to a minus 126 is that number on Seattle. 9.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. And for the Mariners, I set them at a minus 135 on the money line. I'm going to be willing to lay it with Logan Evans. He's been pitching to quite a bit of contact this year. Do you think that he's doing for some fielding independent, shall we say, regression? Because right now he's at a 4.36 ERA, 5.06 fielding independent, 6.9 strikeouts, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, hovering in the neighborhood about 3 walks per 9 innings. Same goes for Sugano, though. These are actually very similar pitchers. 4.24 ERA, 4.96 fielding dependent for Svigano, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's getting fewer than 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. And then you take a look at the battle of the bullpens, no comparison. The Seattle Mariners with Matt Brass, Edward Bazardo, Andres Munoz, Gabe Spire, all these guys giving you sub-3 ERA. They're rock solid. They're 8th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA with a 3.61 entering into Wednesday. Orioles are 25th with a 4.74, with having Felix Bautista hitting the injured list. Keegan Aiken has not been bad. He's been able to give you a sub-3.75 ERA. Cade Stout in a small sample size has not been bad, but you've got the likes of Grant Wolfram, Yunier Cano, Yarmil Geraldo, so many guys. They're giving you above a 4 ERA. Now, I will say for the Baltimore Orioles, this offense is a whole heck of a lot more lethal when they are at home rather than away from home. Right now for the Orioles, they're dead last in the American League in runs per game away from home at a 3.5. That goes up to about 5 runs per game at home. Now, they did trade away quite a few pieces, but you still have Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, a pair of guys that are both give you 13 plus home runs, pair of guys that have done a great job of moving the line, especially with Henderson. He's now updating about a 285 for this unit. You've been able to get good production out of Jordan Westberg as well. You missed darn near half the season, but for Westberg, 14 home runs at about 270 at-bats, hitting about a 265. You like to see that, but Dylan Carlson's hitting below the Bedell's line of 200. Colin Cowser's right now on the concussion IL, but he hasn't done anything. Ryan Mountcastle, 275 on base with 3 home runs. You need a little bit more there. And then on the other end, you've got a Seattle Mariners team that they pick up Eugenio Suarez. They also pick up Josh Naylor. A pair of guys that are doing a great job in terms of moving the line. For Suarez, he's up to over 36 home runs this season. Cal Raleigh, 45 bombs, 350 on base. Randy Rosarena, J.P. Crawford, both above a 350 on base with a Rosarena. And Julio Rodriguez up to 23 home runs this season. This is a Mariners team that's averaging over 5 runs per game away from home. That leads the American League. Dom Canzone has been under the radar. 7 home runs in less than 170 at-bats, hitting at 280, so he's a nice platoon piece as well. Do think that the Mariners get to Sagano and get the job done in a higher scoring game. Semi-total 9.7. I like the over and the Mariners on the money line up to a minus 135. 9-9, 9-10 on the betting board. It is the Detroit Tigers, and they're on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Bailey Ober is on the bump for the Twins, and Tariq Skubal is on the bump for the Tigers. Right now, the lone opener that I'm seeing is over at FanDuel, minus 210 on the Tigers, plus 176 on the Twins. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Tigers, minus 122, and 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 120. The under is even, and I did set the Tigers on the money line at a minus 197. Now, if you're looking to lay a run half, I did set mine at a minus 124. So I'd be willing to take this number. Really, not a lot more than this number, but I'd be willing to take a shot on this number. And I do recognize that Tariq Skubal has been having a few hiccups recently, but you just have to trust in a guy who has won a Cy Young Award before and a guy that just has all the good metrics behind him to be able to figure it out. For Tariq Skubal, even though he's had a little bit of a rough run recently, as he has now given up at least 3 runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts, which for him is a rough run. He's still posting up a 2.35 ERA with a 2.12 fielding dependent, 11.6 strikeouts, and 1.3 walks per 9 innings. He has been absolutely magnificent with that regard. And then you got on the other end a guy in Bailey Ober who has not been magnificent thus far this season. About a 5.16 ERA. Strikeout numbers are at a career low with 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up 2 walks per 9 innings, which is right on par for him, but he's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings. 5.16 ERA, 5.23 fielding dependent, and he is backed up by a bullpen that has been all sorts of rough for the Minnesota Twins. This is a Twins bullpen that is currently in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of ERA, and all those guys that like Danny Kalum, Yohan Duran, that were able to shut it down, they're all gone. So now you're relying upon Cole Sands, Cody Funderburg, Justin Topa, Michael Tonkin, guys like this that are posting up over a 4 ERA to hold down the fort. And I will say, for the Detroit Tigers, this has been a less than savory bullpen of their own, as you've had just Tommy Kahnle completely poop the bed. He's got an ERA that is now hovering right around a 5. Chase Lee has seen his ERA go above a 4, but you've been able to get really good production out of Bryant Herter along with Will Vest. Both of these guys are giving you a sub 3.25 ERA. You've been able to get some relatively good production as well from time to time out of Kyle Finnegan when he's been out there, as they picked him up at the trade deadline. He's been able to give you 5 scoreless appearances, and for the Tigers, this continues to be a top 10 team with regards to runs per game. As a matter of fact, a top 8 team with regards to runs per game. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson at the top, both providing the power. Torkelson, 26 home runs at 330 on base. Green, 27 home runs. He's been able to about at 270. And then just a lot of guys in general that are hitting in that neighborhood about a 260 to 272. Dylan Dingler, Colt Keith, Zach McKinstry, Gleyber Torres, Gary Carpenter, and Carpenter, 21 home runs. When he was out of the lineup, you could tell that that was very much affecting this team. These are all guys that are very rock solid for the Detroit Tigers. On the other end, you've got a Minnesota Twins team that, again, they're very much gutted because they sold everything at the trade deadline. Brian Buxton is back off the the injured list, he's been able to give you 24 home runs. He's been able to give you about an on-base percentage of a 340. Trevor Larnach has been solid with 16 home runs, hitting about a 245. Brooks Lee, 245, 11 home runs. But even though Matt Wallner is giving you 16 home runs, hitting just a 220. Cody Clemens, he's been able to give you 13 home runs at about 220 at-bats. He's hitting just a 222 as well. So you don't have a lot of guys that are moving the line for the team. These guys like Luke Keckshiel are giving you a little bit of something. For Keckshiel, he's actually hit a 350 in his small sample size of above 50 at-bats. I think that's going to be seeing a little bit of regression, and I think that Skubal completely shuts down the Twins. So I set my total at 7.4. I like the under, and for the Tigers, we'll lay up to a minus 124 on that run line. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. The Cubs are on the road against the Toronto Blue Jays. Max Scherzer is on the bump for the Jays, and Mr. Matthew Boyd goes for the Cubs. The Cubs do find themselves in a pick'em game. Both of these teams are between minus 110 to minus 105, and total on this game is 8.5. The under is minus 115, over is minus 105. I'm going to be willing to side with the Cubs on this pick'em line. I did set it at a minus 111 for Max Scherzer. He's just at an advanced age where he's not quite the same pitcher that he once was. For Mr. Max Scherzer, it's not like he's been completely awful this year. 4.21 ERA, 4.62 fielding independent. He's still getting 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's really given up the deep ball. 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Now, he has been able to go at least 6 innings in 4 out of his last 5 starts, and has given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 as well. So, I mean, big kudos to him. And this is a Blue Jays lineup that is averaging right around about 5.2 runs per game when they are at home. That is number 1 in the American League. And for this Blue Jays lineup, being able to get back Dalton Varsho has been very big for them, because even though Varsho doesn't really hit for a lot of average, he's giving a home run every about 10 at-bats. He's got 12 home runs in 120 at-bats entering into Wednesday. And then Edison Barger, Bo Bichette, Alon Flagler Jr., all between 16 and 19 home runs. That's big because George Springer is currently out of the fold for this team. For Guerrero, he's hitting at 300 with a 400 on base. Bo Bichette is hitting at 300, not so much with regards to the on base, but Edison Barger has been able to hit about at 265. Nathan Lukes is hitting about at 260. Joey Luperfido in a small sample size is hitting well above a 360. So, I mean, this team is doing a nice job offensively, but for the Cubs, 1 through 9 is just all sorts of rock solid for this team. Even Ian Happ, who's hitting just a 230, has been able to give you 16 home runs. Dansby Swanson, 18 home runs. Michael Busch, 22 bombs, give you about a 345 on base. Kyle Tucker, 18 home runs, over a 350 on base. Pete Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki, 27 home runs apiece. And then for both of these bullpens, they have shown some moments of brightness. For the Cubs, have a whole bunch of guys that are rocking a sub-325 ERA. Brad Keller, Drew Pomeranz, Taylor Rogers, Daniel Palencia, Caleb Theobar, even Chris Flexen, who's been utilized as a long guy. These guys have all been able to go out there, get the job done, and then for the Toronto Blue Jays, you don't necessarily have that one like fearsome bullpen piece or anything like that, especially with Yimi Garcia currently on the injured list, but on the likes of Brandon Little, Braden Fisher, Louis Varland, Uriel Rodriguez, I'll give you a sub-335 ERA and solid now. Sir Anthony Dominguez can be a little bit of a mess, and Jeff Hoffman has had a rough year, to say the least, so I do think that for the Blue Jays, they should be a very slight underdog here at home, because I really love the way that Matthew Boyd has been able to roll. For Boyd, even though his strikeout numbers are a little bit down this year, he's still posting up some career best numbers. 245 ERA, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings compared to his career average of more like 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1.9 walks, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. This guy has been rock solid, and he has given up a combined 8 runs over the course of his last 5 starts. So, circumstance where I did set the Cubs out of minus 111, I'm willing to back them on the money line. I did set my total at 8.6, so at the 8.5, I'm also in on the over, and we're wrap things up with 9-13, 9-14 on the card. The Miami Marlins are on the road against the Cleveland Guardians. Tanner Bybee goes for the Guardians. Edward Cabrera's on the bump for Miami. Miami is a slim underdog between plus 104 to a plus 112, minus 120 to minus 126. That number on Cleveland, 7.5 is the total, over is minus 120, and the under is even. And for the Marlins, it's not the bad at plus 122. So right now I'm seeing that minus 121. That's the absolute max that I'm going to be willing to lay on the money line of the Cleveland Guardians. Now for Tanner Bybee, if you look at the raw numbers, it has been less than tremendous for him thus far this season. For Bybee, a 4.6 ERA. He's really seen a drop off with the strikeout numbers, 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, while giving up 1.5 bombs per 9. That's why he's got a 4.52 fielding independent. So it's very much in line with his actual ERA, but Bybee has been a whole lot better at home this year. 3.19 home ERA. At home, he's only giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. On the road, he is giving up just under 2 home runs per 9 innings, a 5.59 ERA. And then for Edward Cabrera, he's been a little bit worse when he has been on the road, though. He's been pretty rock solid this far this season. For Mr. Cabrera, 9.5 strikeouts and a 3.8 ERA, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, I should say. And for Cabrera, that home runs per 9 rate does go up to more like a 1.2 when he is away from home. At home, that's more like a 0.8, so that's a little bit of concern. This has been a Marlins bullpen that has been in the top 10 in terms of ERA since the beginning of the month of June, but for the Cleveland Guardians, without Emmanuel Clase, they've actually really excelled in the bullpen. You got the guys like Eric Zabrowski, Cade Smith, the long guy, Kobe Aller, Nick Enright, all these guys who have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Hunter Gaddis has had a little bit of a rough season, but it seems like he's starting to pick it up a little bit more as well, and Matthew Festa hasn't necessarily been too great, but I mean, they're finding a way right now. And on the other end for the Miami Marlins, it's been a lot of unsung heroes for this bullpen as well, as the likes of a Ronnie Enriquez, Lake Bakar, Anthony Bender, even someone like a Calvin Fauché. I'll give you a sub-355 ERA. Tyler Phillips has been solid. These guys have been able to do a solid job of holding down the fort. And for the Miami Marlins, they're 6th in the big leagues in terms of run production away from home. They don't necessarily hit the deep ball. They're in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Augustin Ramirez, 17 home runs. He's hitting for about a 236 with a 282 on base. Needs to work on that, but there are plenty of guys around him that move the line and get on base, as you've had Xavier Edwards at the top, hitting for a 300. Only one home run, but Kyle Stowers, 362 on base, 25 home runs. He has been absolutely tremendous. Roberto Hernandez, in a small sample size, 7 home runs at about 135 at-bats. He's been able to hit a 300 for this team. Javier Sanja only hitting about a 245, but then you've got Liam Hicks, give you about a 350 on base. And then with Cleveland, the big concern that you do have is that this is a little bit of top-heavy lineup. Jose Ramirez, 25 bombs, 370 on base. Steven Kwan is hitting for a 275 at the top. Angel Martinez, just a 271 on base, but he's starting to give you a little bit more. And then Kyle Manzardo, 325 on base, 21 home runs. You do have a lot of guys towards the bottom that are not hitting for any sort of average whatsoever, though, as Carlos Santana even is hitting for just a 227, but Bo Naylor, David Fry, Will Wilson, Jonathan Rodriguez, Austin Hedges, backup catcher, all these guys hitting a $185 or lower. That's a little bit of a concern, but it does feel like the Guardians are starting to put it together. Bybee has been much better at home, so we'll lay up to a minus 122 on this Guardians money line, and it's on my total at 8.2, so I'm in on the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to John Jansen, who does such great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at Junit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm going to be with you guys every single day on this podcast throughout the regular season and all the way into the playoffs, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.